Spoke of the system breaking down that game last week. How challenging is it at the moment to get it all back together and make it work?
Oh, every year there's some challenges in making it work, and some of the challenges that we faced last week, during the game were significant for us, and they pose a different view for us again this week, that we need to look at what we do or don't bring into the team, and they're certainly they do create challenges, but not challenges that we haven't faced before.
So you're looking at shaking up or changing up for what Fremantle offer?
Shaking up versus changing up. Well, we'll certainly be changing up because we have to.
Yeah.
And some of those things are out of our control now with what we what we've lost through injury versus what we certainly bring into the side. But the good thing about what we can bring into the side is some good experience that are available to us to bring into the side in a moment where you need some experience.
So that would be Boak can come back then?
Yeah, well, if you want to just roll names, Boak, Zirk Thatcher, Atkins style players who have got a lot of football experience, they can come in and be really, really strong players for us and very, very good players for us. So that gives us opportunity.
How frank were the conversations on Monday amongst coaches? Tyson kind of said it was pretty truthful, truthful session.
Oh, I think it's just certainty, creating clarity, and that's what we like to do all the time with coaching. And is that the first thing we've got to get right is we've got to have our clarity right, so then we can hand that through to the players, and the players can execute with as much clarity as they possibly can. Doesn't always work perfectly, but what we get out of this week's review, and as we do every time we play a game of football, we tighten up and make sure our clarity is really clear, and starting with our coaches, and we got that on Monday. We're really, really certain about how we need to play. Now we've got to be able to execute at that level. In AFL football, if you don't execute at a really high level, as you've seen on the weekend, you get beaten badly.
Have you had those conversations with coaches as a coaching group many times before, or is it kind of a unique situation?
Every week. No, every week we have coach reviews, and that's what we do it for. We do it to gain clarity about what happened, whether that was a win or whether that's a loss, whether that's a bad loss, whether that's a good win. The same conversations go on weekly, and they don't change. With the greatest respect, they happen every week.
Ken, has there been conversations around, the kind of performance you guys can pull out when your backs are against the wall versus in other weeks, and how you can bring that kind of energy?
Yeah, I think they're more than fair questions because of our results this year. We've had 3 really poor performances this year. We've had some great results, but we've had 3 really poor performances. We don't get any option in the narrative internally. We just get to go out and try and do our best to turn that narrative around and make it more consistent with what we believe in. And that's why I say clarity for us internally is what we need to have. And we've got that. We've just got to now back that up with performance more consistently than we have done this year. At 4 and 6, we're not a disaster, but our 3 losses makes everyone jump on, we are a disaster. I don't think that's completely accurate at all. I think that's the challenge of AFL football.
Did that discussion on Monday centre around, given the injuries you've got as well, and Tyson spoke about the balance between attack and defence, are you going to have to make some tweaks, so given the players that have gone out of that side, and if you continue to play that way, the risk of having more blowout losses?
I don't know that the way we play, the way we don't play versus the teams that we played against caused the blowout losses. I think some of the challenges for us the other night were clearly we're playing against one of the real good teams in the comp. They got on top of us and they were able to squeeze the scoreboard. With 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, it was a 15-point margin, and they really got after us in the last quarter. But we were a bit short on soldiers and a bit short on numbers. That got us big time by the end.
What's the big difference, Ken? You've had to deal with injuries many years, and you've only ever
plenty. Every year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you've only ever had 1 loss as big as you did on the weekend per season.
Yeah.
You've had 3 this year. So what's the?
Yeah, I think there's a level of accuracy on. We've definitely had 3 big losses: Collingwood, Western Bulldogs, and now Geelong, who I think we all probably sit here and think they're all potentially top 4 football teams. At the moment, we haven't played like anywhere near a top 4 football team. So is it a surprise that the very, very good sides get hold of you and put you away at times? It's not what I'd like, but it's not totally surprising. Our challenge has been that we haven't been able to respond and hold up well enough. And that's for a number of different reasons, not just injuries.
You drilled down on those last quarters anymore to work out? I mean, they're probably all for different reasons, but...
Yeah, they are.
Down on anything that...
They are. No, well, we just drill down on the results, and the results say we have to be very, very sharp with what we're doing, and our last quarters is a great spot for us to start, wouldn't it be? If we think about what's happened to us, if we can just make sure our last quarters are much, much more stronger and at least break-even point, we probably take care of blowouts as well, if that's what we can do. So we get to, as I said, we get clarity on what we need to really be sharp on. We've got to bring great energy, and we've got to bring it for 4 quarters, not for 2.5 quarters or for 2 quarters. We've got to bring it for 4 quarters. And, we've proven over a good period of time that we can do that. We've given you examples this year that suggest we're not doing it as well as we should.
Is it above the
Tyson spoke
shoulders?
about,
Is it above the shoulders in terms of not running out games? Because Tyson said he believes you're fit enough on Monday.
Oh, there's all factors that go into it. I think there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of belief that goes with that. There's a little bit of injuries and whatever else that goes with that. And there's a little bit of game style that goes with that. So we've got to give ourselves the best chance in those situations to be consistently solid, and we haven't been that. But it can be a little bit of both.
So it's experience you're going to opt for to replace those players?
Once we get through training, we'll go through match committee. So I just know that there's 4 players there that have got a fair bit of experience that we can lean on if need be. We haven't chosen to go there yet, but we'll have a look at them. But there's also some young players who we know, that Berry, Lorenz, Jackson, those type of players who can all come in and help us improve our performances at the moment, based on the fact that we have got, I think, 3 definitely injured, with others to still assess through training today.
Lorenz didn't seem to do a lot wrong in that one game he played. Is there parts of his game he's one in particular that needs to work on?
Hey, he's building his game. He's just building all parts of his game, and he's shown times that he can cope with AFL football too. But again, there's plenty of young players who have shown parts of their game that are capable. And usually, what happens is with each experience, they get better and they become more consistent, and hopefully, at some point, they become regular AFL players.
The weekly question on Brandon Zerk-Thatcher. Where's he at now?
Yeah, well, he's available. He's trained and he's played, and he's got 3 games I think now behind him. He's in a position that he's certainly available for us, and if we choose to make that call, we'll certainly be confident that he can play at the level.
When you're reviewing and looking at the tape again, what are you making of the turnovers, particularly when the numbers are saying they've risen to a pretty high rate?
Well, it's the score against. It's the biggest problem, I think, as much as anything on their turnover. It's that's a phase of our game that we've worked really hard on. The opposition have been able to take the ball back off us, but and really go through us. So that would be our defensive actions more than our offensive actions. So tighten up on what is really, really incredibly important to success in AFL football, and that is to get your defensive actions right. So we make that our starting point to make sure our contest is okay and our defence is backing that up better than it has been consistently this year. At times it's been very good. Clearly at other times it's been very poor.
And you read on Fremantle?
They're not that dissimilar in some ways, with ourselves, but we know they're talented, we know they're really polished, we know there's certainly a real challenge over in Perth, and we look forward to that challenge. But I'm sure both sides are in a position where they'd love nothing more than come away with 4 points.
Where does your confidence come from that maybe you drop off in energy in some of these games from a player's point of view isn't related to what's coming from a coaching point of view?
What do you mean? I'm not quite sure.
So where do you get confidence that the lack of energy that you're struggling to generate in these games isn't due to the succession plan and
from the energy that we create in other games that we've played well this year? So we have results on both ends that have been positive or negative, and so I think our consistency of performance is where we're struggling, but we do get belief and energy, as you're using your word, is that from knowing that not that long ago we're actually playing pretty reasonable football. And at the moment, the last game we delivered on was a really poor result, so everyone in the room sits in the very, very immediate and now, and that's understandable too.
Is there a tipping point for you at all this season? Are you absolutely still committed to the plan that the club has set itself out? Is there a point where you'll go?
I did say 3 weeks ago the succession plan questions will come back up soon, didn't I? That's what I said. Rightly so. Your job is to look at what's going on from the outside. My job is to be really focused and narrow on the inside. And our coaching group is the same. We're really focused on Fremantle this week. We have nothing other than Fremantle on our minds, and that's all we consider. We start the year off with the intent to be the best Port Adelaide we can be, and at the moment we've been an inconsistent Port Adelaide. Nothing else has changed.
When's your pub dinner with Andrew Dillon? When's your turn?
I don't go to pubs.
Well, he's taking coaches to pubs.
Is he? No, well, I haven't. No, well, at the moment I haven't got a booking in my diary. Put it that way.
Would you have much to offer him in terms of where this game's at?
Very little.
Really? You don't think there's big issues that headquarters needs to get some advice from the coach.
What do you think my job is?
Yeah, but your job.
My job is to coach Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
Andrew's job is to run the AFL. But if I can help or add anything to that, I'm open to any conversation.
And were the blowout losses to continue, or semi-regularly, how do you keep yourself, your eyes focused, knowing that you're not involved in this management now and that sort of thing, and that goes to the...
Can I take the optimistic view? Notice that we don't expect them to continue, and we expect to be getting better at what we do. The challenge is that we've got to wait until our results deliver. But clearly with bad losses, continued questions come. As long as you don't get distracted, that's what I would say. Internally, if you don't get distracted by what you're trying to achieve through 2025, right to the very end of 2025, you're okay.
So no part of the mind's thinking about 2026 or anything like that going forward. Like when Brendan Gale speaks about you in Tasmania, people say, maybe you had a footy role in the future. You don't, none of your mind even goes.
I've been really, really clear and really careful with that. My focus is solely on Port Adelaide, and clearly I understand that there'll be some discussions around people and names, and mine may be one of them at some point. But I will never ever get distracted from job at hand. And until I'm finished at Port Adelaide, my complete energy is at Port Adelaide.